Star Wars fans, The Bad Batch Season 2 is here. We're breaking down the first 2 episodes, so obviously spoiler warning ahead. What's up guys, it's Mike, a guy who loves Star Wars here. Today we're talking about The Bad Batch first 2 episodes, and we're breaking them down. As always, rank the 2 episodes combined out of 10 in the comments below. I'll give you my ranking at the end of the breakdown. So it starts on this tropical planet, what we've seen from the trailers a lot, and they're on yet another mission for Sid. You have Omega fishing off the side of the Marauder, and they gotta escape from these giant crabs. Of course, Omega falls off the ship, and it leads to this big chase with these giant crabs chasing Omega, chasing Hunter, Wrecker, and Echo. Hunter loses a leg, Wrecker loses an arm, and Omega actually dies. Obviously, just kidding, these giant crabs were no problem for them. They escape, and they end up going back to Sid. In Sid's office, we get introduced to her contact named Fee. Now, we don't really know who this girl is. It's not really fleshed out, but it's clearly going to be a storyline in this second season. She did, however, give Sid intel and gave the Bad Batch their next mission, which could be their biggest mission yet, and their last mission if they successfully pull it off. The mission is to the Outer Rim, to Castle Sereno, which was Count Dooku's castle. Yes, the Count Dooku, Sith Lord's castle. So they're after Count Dooku's war chest, which is just this gigantic amount of loot. And the Empire's already there trying to take the war chest, but the Bad Batch are going to come in and do their job. But Hunter's not convinced. He says it's too dangerous, the Empire's already there, we don't need to put Omega and ourselves in harm's way like that. But after a little convincing from the team and Sid, they know that this is a huge mission, and if they successfully pull it off, it could be their final mission and they could be free. On their way to Count Dooku's castle, Omega overhears a conversation between Echo and Hunter talking about how they should be doing more to help people. There's people in need all over the galaxy, but Hunter says we have to put that aside because we need to protect Omega. They land on Sereno and see that the city is completely destroyed. It was bombed like Kamino was destroyed. But they see 3 transports being loaded in by the Imperials, which is Count Dooku's war chest. After Hunter blows up some ships in a distraction attempt, Echo, Tech, and Omega get trapped inside of this war chest and it starts to take off. Hunter and Wrecker hop onto the side but can't hang on because they're getting shot at and jump onto Count Dooku's castle. Echo, Tech, and Omega find out that they need to get to the escape pods so that they can get out of this ship. And while they're doing that, Hunter and Wrecker are in the throne room, Count Dooku's throne room. We've seen this throne room so many times in the Clone Wars with Count Dooku, with Grievous, with Savage Opress, with Asajj Ventress, and now we're seeing it again after Count Dooku's long gone and after the Separatists are gone, and now it is destroyed. The clones that are driving the ship realize that Omega, Tech, and Echo are on this ship, and they jettison all of the escape pods. That's when Omega remembers the crates themselves have thrusters and they can safely get down to the surface with the crate thrusters. Hunter and Wrecker actually get pinned down by clones in Count Dooku's lair, and they have no way out except for down a secret entrance that Count Dooku has in his lair. And episode 1 ends with a cliffhanger with Omega, Tech, and Echo falling to their doom in a crate when the thrusters have not gone off yet. So episode 1, I would give a solid 7 out of 10. It was a great opener. It had Count Dooku's throne room. It introduced this new Fee character that we don't yet know. It had Sid, it had the boys, it had Omega, it had a lot of cool Bad Batch things. And it's just been 2 years since we've seen these guys on the screen, and it was fun to be back watching the Bad Batch in action. But a 7 out of 10 because it didn't really have all that much substance to it. If you look back at the first season's opener, you had Order 66 with Caleb Dune, of course, who becomes Kanan Jarrus, who's in Star Wars Rebels, and you had Order 66 and how that played out, and crosshairs fall, and good soldiers follow orders, and a lot of that fun stuff. That was definitely a way better episode and a way better start to the season than this one. But by all means, this was not a bad episode. It was just a slower start. Now, episode 2 starts with their crash landing. The thrusters do go off, and they do land safely. They're on the edge of a cliff, of course, and they're rocking, and they think that they're safe, and they actually fall again. Hunter and Wrecker are trying to get back to the Marauder to help them out, but they're pinned down by the Imperial forces around them, so they have to go into the destroyed city to escape. In the falling off the cliff portion of the landing, Tech gets his leg crushed, and he actually breaks his left leg. But they grapple up the side of the cliff where they come across this old man named Romar. Romar talks about the Separatists and Count Dooku being on the planet, but he talks about a time before the war. Talks about how there was once peace on this planet. He also gives Omega this toy, and she doesn't really know what a toy is, growing up on Kamino and being on missions for the rest of her life. She doesn't know how to be a kid. But we talked about how in the first episode Omega overheard Echo and Hunter talking about her and how their lives are being changed because of her, and she thinks the mission's going to be a failure if they don't get this war chest, so she takes it upon herself to go run away and go back to the war chest to try and get some gold. Echo follows after her down into the war chest when the Empire shows up and all hell breaks loose. They're pinned down, and Tech with a broken leg hobbling along has to come in and save the day. Omega, about to fall to her doom, is convinced by Echo that what she overheard was wrong and they don't need to successfully get this mission done. And they get out of the crate just in the nick of time before it falls all the way down the side of the cliff, and they definitely would have died if they were inside. Imperial reinforcements show up, but Hunter and Wrecker show up in the Marauder right after and save the day. They ask Romar if he wants to come with them to safety off the planet with the Empire there, and he says, no, I'm staying here, this is my planet, this is my home. And the episode ends in a crazy way. We get Rampart, who was one of the main villains of the first season, back. And Captain Wilco, who is the clone in charge on Sereno, who saw Clone Force 99, the Bad Batch themselves, and tells Rampart that. He says, no, the Bad Batch died on Kamino and it will stay that way. Wilco says he will not forge a false report, and at that point Rampart kills him, saying that Tarkin can't find out about his failure. This is insanity. Just when I thought these first two episodes were kind of slow and not really getting anywhere, Rampart just goes and kills this captain to keep the Bad Batch surviving Kamino quiet. Episode 2 I think was a little better than episode 1. I would give it a 7.5 out of 10. Again, not the greatest. It wasn't better than episode 1 and 2 of the first season, and I think it's off to a slower start, but I think it's going to pick up really quickly, especially when we see characters like Rampart show up at the end and kill a clone captain, and we haven't even seen Crosshair yet, we haven't even seen Rex yet, we haven't even seen Commander Cody yet. These people we've already seen in the Bad Batch Season 2 trailers, so we know they're coming, but we haven't seen them in the first 2 episodes. So there's still a lot of fun things to come in the Bad Batch Season 2, and I think this is a pretty solid start to the new season. Shout out to all you guys who came and watched the channel's first ever watch party. We had a lot of fun just reacting and breaking down the 2 episodes as they came out. Tell me what you thought about the first 2 episodes of The Bad Batch. Do you think it's a good start to the season, or do you think it's too slow? Tell me in the comments below. Smash like if you like this video, hit subscribe, and hit that bell so you get notified every time I post a video, and my pretty face will show up in the recommended feed of yours. This is just the first 2 episodes of 16 episodes, and it's so great to have Star Wars back because 2023 is going to be a huge year. So obviously hit that subscribe so you stay up to date on all the things Star Wars, and may the Force be with you always.